Mr. Pat and me on what?
Work with me here, buddy. There are enough contradictions in your story. I held her with one hand, I took the anchor, I put it on her, and I wrapped it around her with the rope.
This is 72-year-old Merle Mackey, who is now currently being interrogated by a detective at the Hernando County Sheriff's Office for the disappearance of his wife, Evelyn Levine Mackey, who disappeared all the way back in 1981. Now, to understand on how we got here and why he's being interrogated for a missing case that happened over 3 decades ago, we need to know how the whole thing began. The story starts in Hernando County, Florida. Evelyn Levine, who was divorced from her Navy SEAL husband, who was named Larry Wallace, had to raise her 2 children on her own, who were 11-year-old Kelly Carpenter and 19-year-old Charles Trulock. Sometime during the late 70s, she met Merle at a prison outreach ministry for non-violent offenders. This took place at her local church, and after seeing each other regularly, the two formed a quite strong relationship. Merle at the time was quickly in and out of prison, but quickly settled and moved in with Evelyn. Once they got married, they were a happy couple and everything seemed to go smoothly, until Evelyn's teenage daughter last saw her on the morning of November 5th, 1981. She made breakfast for her daughter, and Evelyn's husband, Merle Mackey, took her to school. That afternoon, Merle went to pick up Evelyn's daughter alone, and he told her and her brother that Evelyn had gone to Ohio to take care of her sick sister-in-law, but she didn't arrive there and her sister-in-law wasn't expecting a visit. Just a few days later, Evelyn would be last seen. Kelly was obviously starting to get more and more worried for her mother and would continuously ask her stepfather about her and where she was. Merle also told the police different stories, saying that Evelyn had gone to Tampa, Florida, but she had returned home and left with a new boyfriend. This didn't align with the previous statements and seemed completely out of character for Evelyn. But Merle's lies did not stop there. He continuously changed up the story, stating that she had gone away to be a missionary or that she left the country to live somewhere else. And the only thing that the detectives learned from Merle was Merle Mackey was a compulsive liar. He was a person who liked to tell lies just out of the habit, and he would tweak and change his narrative each time he was being interviewed. All that the detectives knew at the time was that Eve vanished from the earth entirely, and by November 5th there was no track of Eve anywhere, and her family reported her missing on January 1982. Detectives learned that on the day she went missing, money was and had been withdrawn from her banking account, not once but multiple times. But months later, even with this information, the case was empty and it eventually went cold. And it was not until Sergeant Phil Lankin attended the National Homicide Conference 33 years later and an inquiry to Levine's disappearance was ignited, and investigators tracked down Merle in Chandler, Texas, and executed a ruse. They told him a plane crashed in South America and they might have found Levine's remains, possibly entitling him to money from the airline. But in order for Merle to collect the payment, they told him he needed to go into the police station and to go over his statements in regards for a disappearance. Merle agreed, and once back into the station, an investigator would ask him to authenticate his previous statement and also his previous interview.
Do you remember the day she left? No. I'm trying to think what was significant. Work with me here, buddy.
Here, clearly the detective is frustrated, but he quickly makes it seem as if he was joking, as he laughs it off, because if it gets too serious too soon, Merle would feel threatened and would be backed into a corner, limiting any chance of getting a confession. Making sure that there's a friendly atmosphere is very important, and it makes it easier for both of them to converse, which of course is very important in interrogation.
Do you remember her ever saying something about her brother's wife being sick? I don't recall that at all. And we'll go from there. I can't even remember what I ate for supper yesterday. The day she came up missing, were you at work or what? I don't have any clue. When she left, do you remember going to the bank and getting money out of the bank? The bank remembers you going to the bank and getting money out of the bank. I don't know how much I got. I could tell you, but I'm not going to. I want to validate these interviews, and you're making it hard on me. And I thought we'd be in and out of here in about 45 minutes. Well, this is going a little further. I can leave.
Now at this point, the situation is very fragile. The detective has no legal right to detain Merle, and if he's pushed too hard, he will just leave. So the detective is trying to find the right balance of still fishing for the right information whilst being careful to not trigger Merle into leaving the room.
This is an interview that you had here. He said, well, she already had the suitcase packed and all that stuff. She's going to take it with her. Do you remember why she told you she needed to go again?
Her brother's wife was sick. I don't remember what she was sick from.
Had she ever gone up to take care of her brother or his wives or anything before?
I don't think so.
Was that the first time?
Yeah. She said she was going to be gone for a couple of weeks, and if she'd gone a little bit longer, I just figured something needed a little more time.
That memory's a lot better than you remembered.
Something that I discovered was that she had been going with some guy that she worked with at the driver's license office.
You said, I saw her. So I asked you, okay. He said, I saw her about a week after that phone call, second phone call. She had a green Cutlass. I wanted to go through your interviews because I wanted you to realize what you said back then. And did I kind of play a trick on you about she's been found before? Yes, I did. Okay? And I apologize for that. But I didn't know any other way I could get you to walk through this story. Back on November the 5th, 1981, okay? Unfortunately, I think that it's something you've been hiding all of this time.
Notice how Merle's demeanour has changed. He went from being quite relaxed and confident during this part of the interview to now being slightly anxious and attentive the more the detective pushed hard on the subject.
And quite frankly, this is coming back to haunt you.
Be a lie in order to get me there.
Well, you know what?
I haven't confessed.
How was it? The case went to Cold Case, which is us, and it's been put together. And it's coming. It's coming. And
What is coming?
you're fixing to be charged with this.
Charged
Straight
with
up.
what?
The death of Laverne Mack.
In 1981, there was a statute of limitation placed for second-degree murder, which was already expired, meaning that the detective needed a confession in order to charge him with premeditated first-degree murder. Otherwise, Merle would be free to go home.
There are enough contradictions in your story here. Back then, you told so many different versions of what happened to her. 1 minute you say that she left and flew up to her brother's. No, she went and she ran off with another man. And then you told them that you went down to Key West and y'all were getting married again. And then there's you going draining her money out of the bank. Yes, you did that. But your whole life has been a con. This is a con. You are the ultimate con man, and you work 3 different women in that church. What we did was chase down everybody because we wanted to go back and prove every single lie that you made. We've talked to 15, 16, 17 people involved and around Laverne's life. We've gone through everything. My granny's telling you it's for real.
I think all of us can agree that Merle is being backed into a corner, but he would decide to change strategy.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Who says she's dead?
We know she's.
How do you know she's dead? How do you determine that Laverne is dead?
I'm trying to get in here and reach this man that's in here. You can say whatever you want, but give that body back to her daughter so that she can flip and bury her. Please. Please.
Tell me what we're at. Where are we at right now?
Merle, I'm
Are you
asking
just waiting for a confession?
I could care less about the confession because I don't need it.
Yeah, about that whole confession thing, that was a blatant lie by the detective. But it is necessary to let him know that because it makes Merle feel like he's already been found out. When in actual reality, the only thing that the detective can charge Merle with is if he has a confession. But still right now, Merle is able to walk free.
What do you want?
I want a body.
Tell me
Bottom
what
line, I want to know where she's at. When this story finally gets told, you are going to look like such a flippin' animal, such a flippin' lowlife. Give me the damn body. Because without the body, it looks like a first-degree murder in every way, shape, form, or fashion. It's the absolute truth. And then you have to cover up to it afterwards. Does it look like a first-degree murder? Absolutely. Will it work out best for you to tell me where that body is? Absolutely it will.
You're walking. I am not convinced that.
Okay?
You're walking out that front door.
Okay.
Free man today.
Well,
You get up and leave at any time.
Can I get up right now and leave?
Yeah. Sure.
Merle is seconds away from walking out the room and this whole operation being a failure. But the detective quickly comes up with one final strategy, which he would downplay the entire situation, convincing him that whatever happened wasn't his fault and it was merely an accident. For Merle, this was much more easier to confess to than being seen as some sort of cold-blooded killer. Although this still wouldn't convict him of first-degree murder, but now it was the only option.
I can tell you this, if she injured herself by accident, or if she did something like that, and you've been worried about all of this time, and you've just been afraid, out of fear, to come forward, Merle, can we prove there's a crime? I don't know.
I can only tell you, I can sit here and look at you dead on. I'm reading you. I see that you want to talk and tell us where she is. I know you know. I can tell by looking at you.
Did I tell you I like to go fishing?
Yes, it did.
Okay. I went fishing at Inglis. She fell at the dock, hit her head, fell in the water. I have been back there 100 times, raving about that deal, that I didn't jump in the water and save her. I've been living with this for 32 years. I was scared they'd think that I killed her.
Finally, after almost 33 years of confusion and mystery, Merle Mackey has finally admitted that his wife is indeed deceased and that he was present at the scene. However, the detective is not fully convinced of this version of the story.
Why didn't you call for help and say, hey, she's in the water?
Her head was bleeding pretty bad. She was not breathing.
The body in the water, especially that one, it doesn't go away. Please.
I put some weight on her to take her bottom down. When I roped that rope around that woman and watched her sink, it's never gone away. It was an accident.
You telling me the truth right now?
I'm telling you, this is straight business.
Marilyn, you're picking her up.
I just took her
And you're
clothes.
pulling her, and you're taking her up out of the water?
Did you lift her back up onto the dock?
No, because she was, blood was just spurting out. Just spurting out.
At this exact moment, Mr. Merle Mackey unknowingly confessed to committing first-degree murder. The word spurting suggests that Evelyn was still bleeding and therefore still alive when Merle decided to tie her up and throw her into the lake.
I held her with one hand. I took the anchor, I put it on her, I wrapped it around her with the rope, and I turned her loose and shoved her underneath the dock.
Tell us where we can find her so we can give her body back to her kid.
I'll tell you what I'll do. What will you do? I will drive to Florida, and I'll go with you to that dock. And I will call you as soon as I get there.
You could go there with us. You could drive in the front seat. And we could go there.
I don't want to do that. I'm done. I'm done. You want to argue? I don't want to argue. I said I will be in Florida, and I will show you the dock. That's it. I'm done.
Although now Merle has confessed about the murder of his wife, this case was out of the hands of the detective, meaning that they had no authority or no power, but they would present this case to Florida's 8th Judicial Circuit Assistant, Attorney Brian Karma, and the grand jury indict Merle of first-degree premeditated murder. Detectives would search the dock where he had claimed to leave Levine's body, but they concluded that there was no way her body was going to be found, and they didn't believe that Merle was telling the truth about where he hid the body. Merle pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison.